directors don't want to talk about EQ. They don't want to talk about, how specifically we're getting to a sound. They want to know that we're understanding what they're trying to achieve.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to cinema5d.com. My name is Graham Mailer Sheldon. Today I'm talking with Thomas from MelodyGun about the wide world of post audio. Now, Thomas, everyone gets excited about finishing up their film, and then they think, oh no, now we have to go into post. And there are all of these questions that pop up. So you guys have done a ton of work. We've made 3 features together, Miss White Light, Dry Blood, Good Catholic. You've also worked on Arctic. You've worked with brands like Lexus, Popeyes, Ubisoft, the Assassin's Creed stuff. So you guys are certainly experts in this field. So why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name's Thomas. I am a co-founder of MelodyGun. We do all kinds of sound stuff from production, features, VR, all the fun stuff.
What is the first mistake, or what are some of the pain points that you see when a producer, someone from the creative team, first reaches out with their now finished feature? What are you guys trying to navigate in that moment?
Well, as projects are coming to us, typically it's at the end of the process. We obviously like to be involved. We do production, so the earlier we can get involved, the better. We take the time to read the scripts. We do all that pre-prod work, and there are times where we can start getting sound to be part of the tool set that the director and the team is going to use in their film. And one of the things that tends to happen a lot when we come in just at the end is we're trying to kind of figure out how sound can be a patchwork for the film versus being a real tool that is utilized to help set something up, or be more of a hands-on asset. And that comes with style, that comes with all kinds of things. When you work with a great creative team, it's a collaboration. And so the sooner you can start thinking about sound, instead of it being, like I said, a patchwork thing, the better. So you can really start to get into the headspace of the story, inside the world of it, sooner rather than later.
Now, ideally you're already involved, but during production, what are some of the things that the above the line team should be thinking about in terms of setting you guys up for success when you enter post on the audio side?
The more you can allow the sound team to have a voice on set, the better, so that you're getting the performances from set. Nobody likes to do ADR. It's a really hard and different skill set than acting on the day. So you can kind of run into problems there. So, the more voice you allow your guy on set, the more coverage you'll have for sound as well. Doing wild lines and things like that. If there was a problem, asking for another take. If that the sound was unusable in a take, rather than coming back later and be like, yeah, our best take is completely unusable sound wise. So good luck crying, figuring out the timing of that. I think that's something people don't take into account, is how great acting is very hard to ADR, because it's not rigid. It's got all these tiny little nuances that you want to get on the day. So really making sure, you take your time to hit those spots, and capture what you need to when you need to.
Yeah.
It's pretty crucial, especially in indie filmmaking, where you don't have the budget to just sit in a room for an entire day and nail this line.
Right. Well, talk to me a little bit about your creative process. So do you prefer to have a certain amount of time with the finished feature, with the finished commercial, before the director comes in? Just sort of walk me through your preferred timing with this stuff.
Yeah, the best way I like to work is to get a good idea of the vision of the director first. So, once it's locked, or that's usually how it works. We'll wait till the picture's locked to really delve into it. But, depending on the process, we come in earlier. But really, going over the edit as it's working and functioning, and getting deep into why the decisions have been made creatively to do certain things. And a lot of times it's fun because you get to remind the director that they made a great choice earlier on and had totally forgotten it, why they did a specific thing, and being like, oh yeah, in the headspace of the character, we're in this place, let's try to stay in that space. So, we don't really, there are kind of busy work things you can start doing before you have this creative conversation, but all the creative stuff you want to excuse me, streamline it through the vision of the director. Obviously, it's their film and their story. So really waiting till you've gotten a good idea of what they're looking to achieve, feeling wise and viscerally. That's the best way to approach it, because there's a million directions you can go with sound. You could strip everything and keep the entire scene silent, and that could be the right call for one vision, and then go the opposite direction and be balls to the wall for another vision of the same exact scene. So really knowing what they're looking for is important.
Well, let's talk about that vision specifically. How do you prefer to receive notes, right? So I imagine the majority of directors are not sort of diving into the technical
Mhm.
aspects. Maybe they're just saying, "Look, I'd like this scene to feel this way." Do you sort of have to decipher the meaning there?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of great work in learning how to communicate from with the director's side to their sound people, and the opposite as well. You know, how to interpret what the director's saying and knowing what questions to ask to understand their vision fully, and where you have leeway to experiment, and where which direction you need to funnel all your energy into. That is a huge part of the process. And yeah, most of it revolves around feeling based kind of question. But directors don't want to talk about EQ. They don't want to talk about, how specifically we're getting to a sound. They want to know that we're understanding what they're trying to achieve. So talking about philosophy, talking about psychology, um, themes, all the things that make us love stories are the things that I focus on in my conversations with directors. And then obviously in behind the scenes, I'm applying all this sound knowledge, but it doesn't matter how I got there as long as it worked.
Sure,
So
sure.
that's really what I focus
As long as it
on.
works. Yeah, of course. How is your
Yeah.
work changing, sort of depending on the medium, and then the genre?
For the most part, on my end, I approach it all the same way. It's all storytelling. It's all how does sound enhance the imagery and go beyond it if it needs to, um, and how does it viscerally affect the audience in the way the director intends. So all that, it doesn't matter what the medium is. Sometimes it's simpler than others. Like you get a commercial, which is VO and music. I mean, it's pretty straightforward, but there's still an intention there that we need to understand for the mix. So no matter what the actual project is, the process of spotting and understanding the goals are the same. On the other end, the deliverables to clients and all that stuff, yeah, it does change. So if you're doing something for a theatrical, you're going to be a little more dynamic. You're going to emphasize things a little differently than you would on web, where you are just trying to make sure everything's understood. And for the most part, you still have the same goals overall, but it does change kind of the way you're delivering to them. And it doesn't really make sense to do an intense theatrical mix when it's only going to ever live on the web. You just waste a bunch of everyone's time doing something never going to be needed. So, we try to hone our direction in that way as well.
Well, now this one's a sort of a tricky subject, but it's on, I think, the minds of most, indie producers or even non-indie, producers that reach out to you. But how are you, working in terms of cost? Are there ways, you know what I'm saying? So how are there ways, to sort of navigate on the budget side that's better for you guys? Is it all based on time, technology that you're using? Things like that, because I don't think a lot of producers are used to working in post too often. So I don't know if you can break that down a little bit, just sort of on a macro level for a general project.
Obviously, people tend to bill for their own time. So, before we give them a budget, we obviously want to take a look at the film. We want to see what's involved. If your film doesn't involve a lot of Foley, obviously we're going to spend less time on the Foley. So we're not going to charge you for all that time. So all that stuff really plays. And I think it's also a generational and a budget thing. Is when we were building films, it was basically what is the goal? You build it so that you build it efficiently. You already know what the scene wants to do. You don't do extra things when you don't need to necessarily. Sometimes you do just to see if it'll work. But on big budget stuff, they're following every single little thing, even if they know all that's going to be muted later on, because they have the budget to do so, and why not? But for independent films, it's very important that you're working as efficiently as you can. Um, Once again, that doesn't mean you're cutting corners, but it means that you're making sure that what you're doing is part of the vision. And then there are things we do, like we will do festival mixes, which don't have completed M&Es. So that's a deliverable for films where, you know, every little movement is accounted for foreign dubs. But we can be more efficient with the budget if we're not building all that extra sound, if that's not a deliverable requirement. Let's say you're before distribution, you just want to get your film finished in a way that represents your film, but might not meet that final fully filled M&E deliverable. You can come back to us later and we'll finish it out once you know you have distribution already. So, you know, we try to be on the side of the filmmaker. You know, we're collaborators and we want to do the best work we can, and also not, you know, waste your money or do it in the best way possible.
So Thomas, what's the favorite part of the post mix process for you specifically? I'm just curious.
Yeah, so obviously doing all the work is really fun. You get into all the details. But then one of the most exciting times is always when the client gets to come back and watch. You know, we've had the spot and we've talked about their vision, and they get to come in and watch their vision and their film be a film. You know, before they're spending months in the edit bay and it's a cut, you know, it's you feel the set, you feel all the stuff. The first time they come to us for the temp mix and they're like, oh man, this feels like a movie. This feels like what it was in my head, and it never felt like that till now. That's always a very exciting time, and one of my favorite parts of the process for sure.
Well, Thomas, thank you so much for taking a few minutes with me here today.
Yep.
I just wanted to make the post audio process just a little less mysterious for people, and I think we accomplished that. So, everybody, you can check out MelodyGun's work at www.melodygun.com. And yeah, stay tuned to cinema5d.com for more quick tips, more technology news. We have a bunch of stuff coming very soon. Thanks, everybody. Have a good day.